Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. This afternoon I'm looking at a book which has come to us from Family Law. It's the imprint of Jordan Publishing in Bristol. It's another excellent book in the series of Family Law publications. We're very grateful to have these publications from Jordan's and Family Law. We can't do our work without having this type of publication available to us. So thank you in advance to everybody concerned. This book is called The Children Act 1989, Local Authority Support for Children and Families, now in a second edition by Sally Gore. It's an important book. Elizabeth and I have written a review which is on the web and in the journals. We've given it the title For Practitioners and Local Authorities, a clear practical approach to the Children Act 1989 and related legislation. And the book, I think, is highly relevant to anybody who's involved in this area of law. I think a copy should be in every single council office, and certainly anybody who's a practitioner in this area should have a copy. Let's have a look at the book first of all. There it is, purple cover. There's the spine, and then there's the back. There's not too much on the back. The book itself is very much a standard house publication. You've got paragraph numbering in the index at the back. So that's how you find what you're looking for. There's the index there begins, and then after that you've got a whole range of information. Right at the back, not surprisingly, you have the Children Act set out as an appendix. There is the front page, and then this actually the main front page is there. Then after that you've got some detail again about the book. This is available as an e-book. And the way you get it is you go to the familylaw.co.uk website, which is listed there. There's nothing about the ebook as such in that detail section there. Do have a look at the introduction, which sets out where Sally is coming from with this particular book at the moment. And she talks about the first edition and what's new with this new second edition. Then you've got the contents section, and you've got a whole list of very important subject headings, assessments and so forth, duties and powers going through there. You can see the contents is quite detailed. It's an important area, children in the criminal justice system. As I record this, that subject is very important just at the moment, bearing in mind that what's happened when children are involved in criminal, the criminal system itself. There are 12 chapters in total, and then you can see the appendices at the back, dealing initially with Children Act and statutory instruments. Table of cases you've then got, and then after that you then get some statutes, of course. Then after that the SIs, and then after that codes and guidance. Again, that's quite helpful because this is very much an area where there's a lot of additional guidance. Then chapter 1, we go straight into section 17, Children in Need, and it goes in very, very quickly into the subject matter. You see the paragraph numbering, so there's a subhead paragraph numbering, and then you do have, of course, quite a lot of footnoting on the sides. They're running all the way through. Secure accommodation practice concerning that, so forth. It has all of the main areas you might be asked to advise on or become involved in as a lawyer or advisor, and I think the book, as I say, is very, very important from the point of view of anybody involved in dealing with local authorities. So I do think this is a book that every main authority should have a copy of. I would expect them to have one, and certainly the court should have it as well if we have to go to court with this sort of problem. What do we say about the book? Well, we say this: what are the duties and obligations owed by local authorities to children in need? The answer is not a simple one. Basically, it pertains to the Children Act, Part 3, hence the title of this extremely useful book by Sally Gore, widely regarded as required reading for all those, including lawyers obviously, who task professionally with assisting vulnerable children and young people. And I think we are going to see more interest in this in the next few years as the work in this area goes away from the courts and becomes much more involved in the non-court environment. I'd like to see that happen, and I think that is where the political agenda is taking us as I record this at the beginning of 2016. But of course, as lawyers who deal with children issues will know, and of course I do because I do it, the Children Act has been added to and revised by further legislation designed to enhance the range of services that local authority children's services departments are required to provide under Part 3 of the Act. For example, there is the Children Leaving Care Act 2000, designed to help young adults who have, having left care, are faced with formidable challenges and a very difficult start to their lives. Then there's the Children Act 2004, which stipulates that the lines of communication between all agencies dealing with children should be open to ensure greater cooperation and sharing of information. Here, we very much like to see that. We've been arguing about that now for 30 years, not just me, but many people. Government department talking to each other with another government department, make sure you're all joined up and talking together. That has been an objective since Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher was running this country, and I'm very glad to see that we at long last are beginning to move in the right direction instead of all this empire building that has been going on in the town halls and in central government. And I'm sorry if that's plain speaking, but I'm not apologetic at all really, because that has been the problem in the past, and I'm hoping that we see some changes because two other pieces of legislation are now in place. They are the Children and Families Act 2014 and the Care Act 2014. And I do think we're now looking, irrespective of party politics, Parliament is now looking at this matter in a much more sensible, intelligent manner. At least I'd like to think so. This book, of course, is published by Family Law, which is the imprint of Jordan Publishing, as I've said. It aims to disentangle the legislative complexities by bringing together in one handy volume the legislation, the statutory guidelines and the case law, which collectively set out the duties and services to children that local authorities are required to provide, and that's what they do. As a clear, logically organised statement of what precisely constitutes local authorities' support for children and families, this book we think is indispensable. The fact that it's now going into a second edition indicates that the high regard in which it was held by the practitioners is still there, and it has genuinely been of great help. Thank you. You will find all the key recent decisions of the Administrative Court on the interpretation of Part 3 in the new second edition, plus two new chapters, one on support for families with no recourse to public funds, terribly important after LASPO, and another on the Children Act 1989 and judicial review. Again, important, bearing in mind Ministry of Justice, possible policy changes on JR in the future. The book's diverse subject matter is helpfully supported by illustrative cases throughout. It's copiously footnoted and clearly written, and it works well as a source of references for further research into what has come to be considered a relatively new and emerging area of law. Well, I suppose it is new in that sense, but it's really about the way, it's the attitudes and the way we're dealing with some of the problems, and I think that really is the key, because there have not been very good attitudes in the past, and I'm hopeful that we will see some changes, some very good ones. Also, do note the tables of cases, statutes and statutory instruments, as well as the table of codes and guidance, plus two appendices and an index. A very standard index for family law, so you should be able to find stuff pretty easily. Let me conclude by saying that practitioners specialising in children law, child law, whatever you want to call it, or anyone working within a local authority, including all CAFCAS workers, I would suggest, non-government organisations or charities dealing with vulnerable children and families, should consider this informative and helpful book an essential purchase. I do think it will make their lives easier, and I want to thank Sally very much for producing it. The publication date is cited at 2015. Finally, let me just show the book again. There's the front, the spine, and then the back. Nice purple cover all the way through. Just opening it up in the middle. Secure accommodation places. There's quite a lot on that. That's the definition that we've got there. And then you've got, as you can see from this, the huge amount of footnoting that's available throughout. Leaving care, the pathway plan. Again, I mentioned it in the review. It's there and does help, because one of the problems we've always had in law has been the lack of a follow-through. I think we're getting more of that today, as there's a much better approach, a bit of intelligence has been used about how we go about dealing with some of these problems so that they don't crop up again. Can I just point out again, it's an e-book, and it is important to know that that's available. Sally Gore and the others, thank you so much, all the people at Jordan's. I said before, I'll say it again, we can't do without the help you give us in this area, and I think you make our tasks a great deal easier. It's difficult enough in this environment, but these books actually do help, so thank you all very much indeed, and I hope your cases go well. Thank you, bye-bye.